Hello again, it's your internet dad, sharing life lessons that I offered my own sons. I hope they'll be useful to you. So think about becoming a subscriber. Videos come out twice a week on a whole raft of subjects. Today's talk is entitled Formal Dining. And that means what to do if you're at a formal dinner. This could be a corporate event, it could be graduation, it could be a political dinner, could be a wedding. Now, 100 years ago or so, gentlemen used to have these massive dinners, and they would frequently have 7, 8, or 9 courses. You can imagine what it did to their waistline or their livers. Now today, we're a lot more sensible in our formal dinners, but the basic formula of their feast is still adhered to. The rules may seem intimidating to you, but they're really designed for people to enjoy the meal, and the meal being eaten in an efficient and measured way. The subtitle of this talk is Don't Drink from the Finger Bowl, and I'll explain that later. A very good memory cue is as you sit down and throughout the meal, if you really don't know what to do next, copy one of your fellow diners as to which knife, fork that they're using or glass that they're using, so you'll know what to do. Now, a formal dinner will possibly be an intimidating exercise to you the very first time you attend, because at your place will be all the silverware you need for the meal, and there could be 4 or 5 courses. There'll also be a large number of glassware for the same purpose. First thing you do, sit down and open your napkin and follow my advice. Rule number 1 is your place sitting is going to look really complicated, but so is the very first time you looked at a sports car, or maybe you ever looked at an aircraft dashboard. Once you know what everything's for, it becomes so much simpler, and you will become more comfortable the more formal dinners you attend. The first rule that I'm going to share with you is, at your place setting, always start with your silverware from the outside until finally there'll only be a spoon or a fork left, and that'll be your final course. So start from the outside. And an easy memory cue for you is just think what would happen if you started from the inside. Firstly, it would certainly confuse the waiter, but by the time you got to your final course, the fork and spoon or whatever would be 2 feet away from each other and would look utterly ridiculous. So start from the outside and work in. Same thing happens with your glassware. It may very well be lined up in the order that you'll be expected to use them. And the first one will be a large glass, will be for water. The next one will likely to be 2 different types of wine glasses, a long stem glass, and that would be for white wine, and a shorter, larger glass, and that would be for red wine. Then there may be next to it a port glass, and which will be much smaller, and even smaller still, you may have liqueur glasses. But don't worry about this, because once you make your decision about what you want to eat, the waiter will know which glass to pour which liquid in. The next rule is to remember that the waiter will always serve you from the left. And that's simply because most people are right-handed, and it's easier for them to put the food on their plate. Rule number 3 is the waiter will usually take the plates away from the right. And the reason for that is most waiters are right-handed, and it's easier for them to remove the plates that way. On the left of your position, by the way, will be a small plate with a butter knife and maybe some butter on it, if bread rolls are served. Formal dinners usually start with a salad, followed by a soup. And during the soup course, when you get down to not much left in the soup bowl, remember to tilt it away from you when you're filling your spoon and taking the last sups. If you tilt it towards you, you may spill the soup on yourself, which you certainly don't want to happen. The main dish is usually fish, poultry, or steak. In the bad old days, those would have been two separate courses, and you would have started off with fish and then gone to meat. And in those bad old days, they would have separate knives and forks for fish. Once you see them, you'll know what they are. If you're in doubt, Google it and work it out. Once you decide which food you want, the waiter will likely follow around and ask you which wine you have, which wine you want. So if you ask for white, you ask for red, you're not stuck with whichever one you want, just whatever your choice is. The joke about don't drink from the finger bowl is that during the meal, the waiters may bring you a small bowl filled with water, and that's if one of your courses is messy, finger food, thinking artichokes or lobster or crab. Your fingers will be greasy. You'll be grateful to dip your fingers in the water and dry them on your napkin. The reason why I mention this is in a lot of Hollywood movies, you'll see the country bumpkin is almost invariably picking up the finger bowl and drinking from it. Of course, it doesn't happen in real life, but you'll know to avoid it even if you're tempted. After the main course, you'll have dessert or coffee. And this is sometimes followed by a cheese and fruit platter. Now, everything prior to this point will be served by waiters, but the fruit and cheese is a platter that you now pass amongst your other diners at the table. Use your butter plate to put the cheese on, and crackers or whatever else that they wish, or fruit. And if there's fruit, they may include a knife on the platter. In some formal dinners, the waiters will now place a container of port, a decanter of port, on the table. And this is designed to be shared by all your fellow diners. The tradition is it always goes to the left, and that's not for any other reason except most people are right-handed and it's easier for them to pass the port to their left. It also ensures that the port does circle around the table. And a polite way if someone has not passed the port is to say, the port is with you, the traditional message. They'll know to accelerate it and bring it round. A memory cue on which way you should serve the port is it's time for port. And that means the port should always be passed in a clockwise direction, and you'll never have a problem. At many dinners, there'll be a final course. Again, you're going to be using your bread plate, and those are a dish of bite-sized sweet chocolate-dipped strawberries, small dessert cakes, and the like. There's a fancy word for that. It's called amuse-bouche. It's just a fancy French word to amuse the mouth. But it's an interesting little freebie that by tradition chefs always include as an example of their skills. So go ahead, enjoy yourself and eat them, but don't hog all of them. That is your formal dinner. You'll be surrounded by people who hopefully by this time will be your friends if they weren't before. And the fourth rule is, for goodness sake, just enjoy yourself. There'll be hopefully many more dinners in your future, and now you'll know exactly how to get them right. I hope you find this useful. Remember that if you know a friend who you think might find it useful also, share that link. But in the interim, enjoy the meal. I'll see you next time.